When Slannesh broke through into the realms of reality, she brought a few things with her. Demonettes, Keepers of Secrets, Bon Jovi, Venereal Disease, and Noise Marines. This video is sponsored by Heavys, the headphones that were specifically engineered for heavy metal music. But one of the coolest things about Heavys headphones is they have a replaceable shell cover. And when we're talking heavy metal music, we've got to bust out a Noise Marine. First step to this little diorama is figuring out how the Noise Marine is actually going to attach to the headphone. And the biggest challenge here is the backpack. Chaos Space Marines have massive backpacks and it's kind of a pain in the ass. So we started shaving everything down, and just like Pete the Wargamer has been telling us for the last 10 years, make little cuts and test that dry fit. In this case, like many others, it's easier to remove material than to add more on later. Once that's all flush, we can go ahead and glue on the backpack and we can try our fit. But we can't just leave one little sexy marine all by his lonesome, we're gonna have to give him something to stand on. I honestly don't know what kit this is from. This is something I've had floating around in the bits box for a while, so we're going to measure it out and start cutting. And because I want that nice flush straight line, we're going to do it the long way.
4 to 6 days later.
It's a tedious job, but trust me, having that flat straight edge is going to be a godsend here. After marking out where I want it to sit on the shell and the overhang, we're going to go ahead and clip that off so it's all nice and flush with the sides. Before gluing, I'm going to score the surface of the headphone shell just to give it a little bit more purchase and that little bit more strength when the plastic glue goes in. Because this is a poly cement that actually melts a plastic, I'm going to give it a coat on both sides before I start holding it down. After some time to set, we can go ahead and put the Noise Marine on and see how we like it. It's starting to take shape, but we need some more. I'm going to bust out some sprue glue here and add a couple of bits of sprue. Now, this is going to do a few things. One, it's going to help structurally, just a little bit more glue, a little bit more purchase space, and it's going to fill up some dead space because we're going to fill this with skulls. The Citadel Skulls kit is one of those kits that I highly suggest everybody grab at least one of. You get 340 skulls in a box and you will use it for basing, dioramas, conversions, everything. They are just super handy. And obviously, we're just going to start packing in the skulls like the catacombs. Don't worry about the little stringy tendrils, they will just flick off later. There's also no good comfortable way to kind of get these on. Your fingers are generally too big, the tweezers are generally a pain in the ass, so use a mix of both. Now we're going to glue on our Noise Marine. I'm also going to throw on a big dollop of sprue glue just because this stuff and the viscosity of it, it really helps things stick. Now we can finally start to paint something. It's actually criminal how long it's taken for us to get a Noise Marine here on the channel. Once that's done, I'm actually going to pull out a little bit of tape and start masking off the sides just to try and keep it a little bit clean and tidier. Now we're going to hit it with Hydra Turquoise from the Army Painter. I'm going to put on a pretty good coat of this and then let this cure because we're going to bust out that pinstriping tape. While I could have gone full ballsack and painted in a background for this, I really like the idea of just going that pure synthwave, so we're going to have some turquoise lines. That means after the pin tape, we're painting over with black. And that's right, you heard the word synthwave, you know what's going to happen here. We're going to grab some Imperial Navy and shoot it from the underside. This is going to take care of all our shadowing. After that, we're going to pull out our best friend, a Wicked Pink, and shoot from the top. This is going to give us all that super slannesh highlight. But I'm also going to show you a few extra steps of how to get that hyper saturation. So once we're done here with the Wicked Pink, we're going to grab a Doomfire Drab and spray it down like a zenithal. For this one, I'm going to focus a little bit more on the shoulders and the torso, because here comes the hero of our story, Familiar Pink Speedpaint. I get a lot of questions on the channel asking how we get things so super saturated, and usually the answer is speed paint. Tinting and glazing with speed paints, because they're so pigment rich and vibrant, just gives us a super saturation, and I'm all about that. But we have to balance that out as well, so we're going to go for a more creamy neutral tone for those bones. But because we also want to keep that synthwave aesthetic and some interesting shadows, I'm just dry brushing and then picking out some of the details along the brow and the bridge of the nose, keeping all that purple and blue in the shadows. Don't worry, I'm going to clean up those speckles. Jumping back in with Hydra Turquoise, we're going to go around and start picking out all the trim. For a Chaos Marine, there's surprisingly not that much trim on a Noise Marine, and that makes me pretty damn happy. Don't forget, we're also going to be adding the guitar on top, so we kind of want to balance that out somehow because I'm going to go pretty wild with that guitar. So while at the moment it does look a little top heavy with all the Hydra Turquoise just on top, it'll even out. Quickly black over all that space rubber and anything that's going to be metallic. There are a few little bits and pieces on here, before oddly jumping back in to highlight all that turquoise. And for that, all we're using is Aquamarine from the same turquoise flexible triad. We're not going super crazy on the highlights, just enough to pick out some details. A little Wasteland Clay here, a little weapon bronze there, and we're really just filling in some details now. Before we get to jump straight over to the fun part, the guitar. For this, I'm going to take some advice that I got a long time ago when I was still playing gigs. A lot of metal musicians wear black clothes and play black guitars. And on a dark stage, everything kind of blends in together, so I started playing with white guitars. And that visual pop and contrast was a massive deal. Also, if you're a guitarist, you know you want that ebony fretboard, so we're going to paint this in black. Take care of some easy details on the white, we're just going to go in with the Speedpaint Battleship Grey, which is going to give us a cold off-white grey, mostly in the recesses. Jump back to that weapon bronze because we want that gold hardware, and for some reason weapon bronze against white reads as gold. And after looking around at a couple of my guitars that have gold hardware, weapons bronze is pretty damn close to what it is IRL. Now we're going to jump over to a little plate mail metal, we're going to knock out some of these silvers, and we're just going to use the side of a brush to get all of the strings. Before jumping back to Wasteland Clay, because as if we could do a noise marine without leopard print. If you want a little bit more in-depth of how we do animal print and a bunch of different animal prints, go and check out the Eldar Combat Patrol that we painted only a little while ago. In that video, you'll find tiger print, leopard print, and zebra print, as well as Van Halen stripes. But it's honestly as simple as it looks. You're just going to draw in a couple little black C's and then dot it with a little brown. And we're finally getting close to done. All we have left is the head. For the helmet, I took the same steps as the guitar's white, and I'm just going to mask it off with a little bit of blue tack before shooting over every single fluorescent paint that the army painter make from the air range, except for purple. I like the blends that you get from the airbrush, especially with fluorescent paints in electric rainbows, but you can brush this on, it'll just take a couple of coats. Weirdly, this was the hardest part of the entire diorama, getting the damn blue tack off. To create a little visual and textural contrast, we're going to jump in with some of the Army Painter Effects paints in dark rust before jumping over into fresh rust. And no, I'm not going to play Ode to Joy again, that was hilarious, but we're just going to peel that tape off to get all those lovely crisp lines. Except there was a little bit of bleed, but you know, when you're a meter away, it's fine, you don't even notice it. And now we get to kick into those money shots. Now here's the thing, do these look badass? Hell yeah they do. Are they practical? Maybe not so much. Strapping a noise marine to the side of your head while you're trying to headbang is probably not the best idea that we've ever had, but it's pretty awesome. And yeah, we did the other side already. I want to say a massive thank you to Heavys for sponsoring the videos, as well as our boys over at InGames and Army Painter, and everybody on the Patreon. I will catch you next week. Love you all.